That which is never born can never die. With these few words, Ramana Maharshi points beyond all duality, beyond the great fear of life, death itself. To the ordinary mind, birth is the beginning. Death is the end. We think in terms of time. We measure everything, age, growth, decline, and call it life. But who is it that watches all of this unfold? Who was present before the thought of me arose? Ramana invites us to turn the question around, not what happens when I die, but rather, what was I before I was born? It is not a question meant to be answered by the mind. It is a doorway to silence, to direct recognition. Close your eyes. For a moment, set aside the story of your life, your name, your past, your body. What remains? There is still awareness, something that sees, something that hears. But this awareness has no age, no gender, no beginning or end. You have always called yourself a person, but the person is just a mask, a costume worn by consciousness. Underneath, there is no birth, no death, only presence. The body comes and goes. Thoughts rise and fall. But the space in which all of this appears, that does not change. You have never truly been in the world. The world appears in you. And what appears must also disappear. But you, the real you, do not appear. You are the ever-present witness of all appearances. This is not poetry. It is not philosophy. It is the most direct pointer to the truth of your existence. You were never born. You will never die. What does die is the illusion of being a separate self. What ends is the dream that you were ever apart from the whole. When this is seen, not believed, but seen, the fear of death dissolves because it was never real. Only what was imagined can disappear. That which is real remains, eternal, unchanging, silent, alive. Why does this truth seem so distant? If we are this timeless presence, why do we feel so small, so temporary, so afraid? Because the mind has created an identity, a story called me, and has confused it with the self. This me is born. This me fears death. This me constantly seeks meaning, security, permanence, in a world that cannot offer any of it. The body is aging. The world is unstable. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. And we cling to these waves, trying to find ground in what is, by nature, impermanent. But Ramana reminds us, you are not these waves. You are the ocean. You are not the clouds. You are the open sky in which they pass. Trying to hold onto the personal self is like trying to catch the wind in your hands. No matter how tightly you close your fist, it slips through. But when the fist opens, when we stop trying to define ourselves, protect ourselves, become someone, something else is revealed. Stillness, awareness, a quiet joy that has no reason, a peace that is not dependent on outcomes or conditions. And in this space, a shift begins to happen. You no longer see yourself as the character moving through life. You see life moving through the character, and that character, your name, your form, your memories, becomes light. It loses its heaviness. You still play the game, but without fear. Because you know, even when the body dies, you do not. Even when thoughts end, awareness remains. This is why the great sages speak of liberation as something already present, not something to be gained, but to be uncovered. You are not moving toward the self, you are moving away from the illusion that you are something else. The truth is, what you seek is what you are. It has no beginning, it has no end, it was never born, and so it can never die. The mind clings to continuity. It tells stories of birth, growth, decay, and death, as if that line from cradle to grave were all there is. But these are mere movements on the surface of something vastly still. When you were a child, where were you before thought arose? In deep sleep, where do you go, and who remains? Between each breath, between each thought, something is watching, unchanging, silent, undivided. What is that? It is not the body, because the body has changed 1,000 times. It is not the personality, because you have laughed, cried, feared, loved, all passing masks. It is not even memory, for memory is a collection of images held by time. There is something beneath all of that, a quiet, boundless awareness which doesn't move, doesn't age, doesn't begin, and will not end, and it is not far from you. It is not hidden behind lifetimes of effort. It is what is hearing these words. It is what is looking through your eyes. You cannot lose it, because you are it. All fear of death arises from the illusion that you are something that began. But when it is seen that you never began, you also see there is no one to end. This understanding is not philosophical. It is not belief. It is the direct recognition of the self, eternal, untouched by form. When that is seen, death loses its teeth. Life is no longer about preservation, or becoming, or escape. It becomes simple, luminous presence, fully here, fully free. What happens when this truth is no longer just an idea, but a living reality? There is a gentle peace that arises. Not the peace that comes from things going your way, but the peace of no longer being bound by anything at all. You no longer chase permanence in the impermanent. You stop trying to fix a world that was never broken, only misunderstood. There's no need to seek salvation in time, or identity, or effort. You rest, you breathe. You abide in that which never changes. And from this stillness, something beautiful begins to bloom. Not ambition, not achievement, but love. A quiet, effortless compassion that sees itself in all things. Because you now know there are no others. The self is not separate. It is not yours or mine. It is existence itself. Vast, open, silent, present. It holds the entire play of form without needing to control it. And when death comes, as it must to the body and the story, you do not flinch, because what ends is not you. What you are was never born, and so it cannot die. Let that truth soften your heart. Let it dissolve fear. Let it invite you back to what has always been here. The stillness, the watcher. Not tomorrow, not after enlightenment, now.